Welcome to the Idea Climbing Podcast. If you can align yourself with a speakers bureau, your speaking business can grow and thrive. I discuss how to do that in this episode with my guest, Brian Palmer. Brian is the Senior Vice President of Premier Speakers Bureau and a respected leader in the speaking industry. With decades of experience, Brian has built a reputation for helping business professionals select the perfect speakers for their events, prioritizing engaging, relevant, and high-impact presentations that align with organizational objectives. We dive into topics such as what makes a professional speaker attractive to speakers bureaus, what to expect from a speakers bureau when it comes to marketing your services, how to stay ahead of the ever-changing market demand curve for speakers and stay relevant, and more golden nuggets of advice. You're going to love this show. Brian, thank you for making time to be here for the Idea Climbing Podcast. I appreciate it.
Hey, Mark, good to be here with you.
And we're going to talk about some strategies, some tips, some tricks, ways to get booked as a speaker, and ways to book a speaker. Before we get into the strategies, how did you get into that world? What's your story in the speaking world?
In 1972, I was a freshman in high school. My dad started National Speakers Bureau. He was a band leader. He got tired of traveling all over the country, and he decided to do something on the fringes of the entertainment business. And the lecture industry is, in many ways, on the fringes of the entertainment business. And he started National Speakers Bureau. I started with envelope licking and note card sorting. And after college in 1980, I worked there in the summers during college. But in 1980, I finished college and I started here full time, and I've been around since.
So, what's your experience been? Let's start first with booking speakers, because I think there's a little bit of a gray area there, a little bit more in getting booked as a speaker, which we'll dive into. But as far as booking speakers, what does that process look like to do it effectively so everyone's happy?
Well, that's what I started doing when I started here full time. And there are a variety of ways to arrive at that, but generally speaking, we've established ourselves as a good place to turn to when you need a good speaker. People write us, describe a situation for which they need a speaker, give us their criteria, their budget parameter. We make recommendations and provide them with the means on which to base a decision. You know, biography, presentation descriptions, video. It started out long ago with cassette tapes, audio cassette, but now it's video, and it's a lot easier now through online video to have a variety of videos of somebody's presentation so clients can get a different look. A lot of buyers are very interested in testimony, what other people had to say about the speaker. So we provide all that. Sometimes people have other questions, and we try to marshal the process along and help people make a decision that they're really happy about. And then once it's booked, to handle all the arrangements in a way that builds the buyer's confidence. The speaker shows up prepared, ready to go, ready to make a contribution to that organization's objectives. And they speak, they get a lot of applause, the client's really happy, and their boss said, that was a great choice.
So what does that process look like when they approach you? What is the process? How do you pick a good speaker for that person? I mean, is it just the topic? Is it more of a personality thing with them? The motivational rah-rah speech versus the informational? What is the process for vetting speakers to give to meeting planners look like?
It's to a certain degree, I know a good one when I see one. I studied speech in college, speech and rhetorical theory. And some of the things I learned about what makes a good speech back then still applies today. But we watch speeches, not so much preview videos, but we watch a speech. We watch the stories they tell, how relevant they are to the audience, how personalized the presentation is. And one of the things we do is time how much how much time elapses between a laugh or some sort of emotive response, and all those things factor together to delineate a good speaker from a excellent speaker. And there's so many people who want to speak. We choose to recommend people who are excellent. And then over months and years of booking somebody and knowing who is particularly good in certain situations, all that weighs into the recommendations that we make. Also, we book over 2,000 engagements a year, and our customers rate the speaker, and we rate the speaker as well. How cooperative they are, how good they are at personalizing the presentation, how they work with us, and all those things combine to drive the recommendations that we make.
And for the speakers in your stable of speakers, do they approach you? Do you approach them? What does that look like as far as onboarding a speaker? Which does it tend to lean more towards you find them, you're amazing, be part of our tribe, and or do they approach you?
I don't have stats to answer that question.
Mhm.
We pay attention, and when we hear about a speaker that we're not involved with, and we hear they did a great job, or that we lose business to somebody repeatedly, that gets our attention. People that speak that we know sometimes say, "You ought to take a look at this person because I saw them and they were really good." People often tell us about somebody that might be a friend. I think often to do them a bit of a favor, but we hear about speakers a variety of ways. Plus, as I mentioned when we spoke the other day, on average, we hear from 30 people a day who are interested in our booking speeches for them. And so there's a veritable flood of people who want to speak. I think one of the factors that drives that is after during COVID, a lot of people with a lot of good experience took a buyout, were let go, or decided to retire. So there are a lot of people with a lot of interesting experience who now want to speak. And they've been working on it, practicing it. And it just seems like now in the last 6 months, a lot of people have decided to try to get the attention of companies like mine and the people that I know that do similar work. They tell stories about the incredible number of people that are approaching them, and it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with, and we simply don't have the the capacity or the bandwidth to consider all the good speakers that are out there. But getting back to I drifted off here. Getting back to your question, sometime well, my one of my favorite stories is a speaker invited me to come hear him speak, and he gave me the wrong time. So I got there early, and the person that spoke before them was fantastic. And we've been booking this person a whole bunch. I stayed around and I heard the guy who invited me to speak, and he was good, but it wasn't nearly as good as this other person. And I don't I certainly don't want to be booking people that are just pretty good. This other person was great. I'm glad, a happy mistake, and we've done a lot of business together.
So, with all the people approaching you, what advice do you have? What's the right way to approach a speakers bureau? Because I would imagine a lot of people just called, here's a video, please hire me. What's the right way to do it?
Well, that the answer to that question is it depends. Different bureau people like to be approached differently. Sometimes they will give guidance on their website, often not. It's I don't think it's wise to investigate, what it takes to be a good speaker by calling somebody that works at a very big, very busy speakers bureau. I would have great video of a great speech set to go because almost invariably going to be you're going to be asked for that kind of thing. But if to the degree you can find out how they might want to be approached, somebody that does business with them, you might ask them what might be a good way to approach them. But that's a question that I get a lot, and I'm vacillating. I mean, I don't have a particular way that I like to get approached.
Hmm.
Um, and I do take a little peeky boo at everything that comes my way, but often it's very clear to me that we're not a good fit. And I used to feel the need to respond to everybody, but I don't anymore. I've got a job
Hmm.
and I've got responsibilities here, and I can't give time to, I don't like my life ruled by the contents of my inbox. I have to be a lot more deliberate about my work.
When you do bring a speaker on board, do you do marketing for them, or is it mostly people come to you? What does that look like, the dynamics between you promoting speakers and people just coming to you and saying, give me three options for my conference? What does that look like?
Well, it depends on the speaker and it depends on what they want. There's some people that simply want an entity to manage the demand. They have a lot of people contacting them and they want us to handle those inquiries in a very professional manner and bring them the ones that from the organizations that fit the criteria that they have. Um, we do email marketing and we do social media marketing to let people know about speakers. With some thought leadership, we like to use the people that we work with to write articles and create videos and share those with people in ways that might um, help people be more effective in their work role. So um, we try to align ourselves with speakers for whom there's going to be some pull into the marketplace, not always pushing hard out into the marketplace.
When it comes to speakers, let's say the ones that they've done the free speaking, maybe they're still doing it for promotion and awareness, whatever you want to call it, visibility. When is it should speakers start looking for speakers bureaus? Well, let me take it back one step. What advice do you have for speakers to say, look, I've done the free stuff, I've got a couple speeches, I know I'm at least decent. Where do you start to get booked as a speaker? What can they do to start before they approach a speakers bureau to become more in demand?
Well, I'm going to probably overuse your term decent. We don't need, and take this in the best way, everybody. We don't need more speakers. We have excellent speakers on a wide variety of topics. We're always looking to sort of top grade, maybe bring somebody in that's even better than somebody that we're currently booking, people that we represent exclusively, and the much bigger pool of people who we know of and regularly book. You got to be really good, I think, to get a speakers bureau to book you. I mean, people look to us to having to do the due diligence, know who's that excellent speaker, not that decent speaker. And a lot of people, what's that show? American Idol. When somebody gets done and they walk out and they're sobbing and they say, "Everybody said I was a great speaker." Their family and their friends tell them that they're a great speaker. I don't know to tell people what it is when you become a great speaker, what it's like, but I think I know pretty well what makes a really good speaker,
Mhm.
and rookies regularly call us, say, I got a standing ovation, and they really liked me, and I think I should be represented by Premier Speakers Bureau.
So, what tips do you have for those? Let's say Better than decent, and they're at this stage of the game, they're not ready for a speakers bureau yet. What booking advice do you have for somebody at that level? What should they be doing to get booked more?
Well, they should be speaking. They should. That's not an answer to your question, but they should be getting reps. I mean, somebody tells me that I've got a brand new speech and I'm ready to deliver it. I feel like saying, "Go give it 100 times, and then come talk to me." I like knowing that somebody has spoken a good deal. They've had to be a road warrior traveling around. When you're having a bad day, when your travel stinks, I feel sorry. Tomorrow it's supposed to be snowing here in Chicago, and there are going to be some travel challenges here, and people are going to get in at 2 in the morning, and then they've got an 8:30 keynote speech before 2,000 people. They need to be able to shine and sparkle. You're a lot of people who work at corporations, they spoke for groups and they said the audience loved me. Well, you're the boss. Everybody's going to be really polite to you. When you're getting paid, the expectations are a lot higher. And so you need to deliver excellent work all the time. You need to dig, you need to find people who need speakers. I mean, there's all sorts of organizations who have meetings, large and small, discerning where those are. You know, I don't know how to tell people to do that, but it's a lot easier to find engagements because of the internet. Looking speakers that and maybe figuring out where they might be speaking and organizations that if they're interested in them, they might be interested in me. Speakers often cooperate and they refer each other into places, but it's tough. It's tough. There's all these people wanting to speak. I think the market has grown somewhat since COVID, but I think the growth in the number of speakers has exceeded the growth in the number of events.
So with what you just said, speakers referring each other in, collaborating. As far as you just mentioned, tough. What advice would you have for speakers going through that tough time where I'm getting some, I'm not where I want, or I'm having a bad day psychologically? Do you have any tips as to how to keep on keeping on in those times for speakers?
Well, I think a lot of people that speak pay too much attention to marketing and not enough attention to their speech, not enough attention to personalizing the presentation, not enough attention to doing the things that the organization really wants. That is what the best marketing tool that you have is the next speech that you give. And if you do a great job and there are potential buyers in the audience, then people will see you and they'll want to bring you in. And that's really thrilling. It's thrilling when we in our business we call it spin-off business. When you get spin-off business from the speeches that you're giving, there's there I think there are a lot of people that want to speak, and it's the number of people that actually make a decent or a excellent living from it is relatively small. So just because you're a pretty good speaker or you're a good speaker and you're hustling, that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to make it. You need to be really good. You need to be a little lucky. You need to be crafty. You need to hustle because I'm amazed at the way people who speak hustle, how hard they work every single day, how they are reaching out every single day. It's pretty extraordinary how people that speak, even even the people that have made it and do very well, they work hard because they want to keep that pipeline full, and they're constantly innovating, working on new books, evolving their material. I know a lot of people that become successful and they don't change. They keep doing the same old thing. And eventually the market goes in a different direction and they come to me and say, why aren't I getting nearly as many invitations anymore? And that often is the result of their not evolving with the marketplace or they're not getting better. Every time there's a big downturn, like during COVID, a lot of people get out of the speaking business because they can't make a living at it. And every time there's a downturn like that, customer expectations grow. I need somebody who's even better than in the past. Times have gotten tougher. My people are unhappy. People are scared. So they demand more of speakers. So if you're not constantly getting better, the demand isn't going to come. And so it never gets easy. And so to get back to your question, I keep drifting off. To get back to your question, I don't know, but it it's a tough job. It's a really tough job. And when it works, it can be extremely lucrative. And that attracts a lot of smart people who want to make a great living, who love the stage. I mean, that's part of it too, the allure of the stage. People want that. People want the adulation of audiences. So it draws people for a variety of reasons, and all that combines to make it really complicated and competitive.
We have covered a lot of ground in a short period of time. When it comes to booking a speaker or getting booked as a speaker, people listening and watching, like, okay, you said a lot of good stuff. I get it. Certain things to do, to not do. As far as booking or getting booked, whether it's reiterating something you said or maybe something we haven't touched on, if you were to say at least do this one thing, at least do this in the speaking world, what would you tell people to do?
The number one source of praise for speakers is they did their homework, they listened, and they helped us achieve our objectives. They personalized the presentation. The number one source of complaint that I hear is they did the same old thing. That was exactly the same thing that I saw on their preview video. They're delivering the same speech. They asked me to fill out a pre-programmed questionnaire, and they didn't use a bit of that. People don't hire speakers to hear their stories nearly as much as they do to help them achieve some objective for that session, for that event, or for that organization. And the degree to which you make a clear contribution to helping that organization achieve some objectives, you will improve your odds greatly of being successful.
This has been awesome. If people want to find you online, what place or places should they go to?
Premierspeakers.com, premier with an E on the end, the French spelling. I guess when the company got started, there was somebody from Canada with a French orientation, and he begged if they could spell it the French way. So it's premierspeakers.com. I am Brian.Palmer at premierspeakers.com.
Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it, Brian.
All right. See you, Mark.
And scene.